Welcome to BPW Goes Digital. As you know, this initiative is initiated by Dr. Anne Hilke and myself, with the presenters who are young BPW members from across the globe. So, the topic for today that we have is Advocacy Online. And the presenter for today is Otoha Hayashi, who is the chair of Organization Committee of BPW Japan and also BPW Tokyo Club executive member. She was the young representative for Asia Pacific and also the young representative of Japan. She is the operation and event manager with a background of anthropology. So let us learn from her how we can take advantage of the online platform and the tools to amplify the BPW advocacy efforts during this crisis. So now the floor is all yours, Otoha.
Thank you very much, Nerima. Okay, so online advocacy. So my name is Otoha, and I would like to start my presentation on this topic today. So before I start, I'd like you all to think a brief moment and to have a quick think on this term advocacy, which is our topic for today. Then also, I would like you to think on another term, activism, which is also on screen. Now, some of us may be able to clearly define. Is it okay? Yeah, sorry, okay. So some of us may be able to clearly define the differences, but perhaps some of you may find them very, very similar. So I'm just going to bring some examples. Okay. So personally, I used to think they were very similar or even the same things. But today I'd like to say that sometimes they may end with the same result. But as you may already see on the screen and from the images, the approach is the difference between advocacy and activism. And many of our clubs may engage in both advocacy and activism. However, as International Federation of Business Professional Women, I'd like you all to remember that advocacy is what we engage officially, and activism is something that comes with it in many cases. But in the time of COVID-19, where we are unable to continue the way we have always been advocating, I think in many cases we're gathering in person or lobbying in many different forms. So I'm sure a lot of clubs and federations are finding it very difficult to continue our main action, which is the advocacy for women's rights and gender equality. But in order to continue this important action, we can bring this to online today, which is the online advocacy what I'm trying to bring. So these tend to be end up with similar result, but just with a different approach. It's just online. So so there's no need to think that making advocacy into online version is going to be a completely different situation, but it's just slightly different. And so I'd like to give some examples, which show some of you have seen already. So change.org, the one on the left. So this tends to be a very famous one, available in many languages and have a great variety of petitions. This tends to be a great platform for many people. Seems like someone's microphone's on, isn't it? Yes. All good? Yeah. Okay. Oops, sorry. I think I've gone ahead a little bit, sorry. So change.org tends to be a great platform for many of us. I've already seen in at least 10, 11 different languages that came through to me. So this tends to be a great example of online advocacy, which is the online petition. And the one on the right is actually a UK government's online petition page. So as and then many other government, I'm sure, will be also doing something similar. And perhaps they weren't before, but due to the COVID-19 situation, I'm sure some governments or some other organizations have also started doing the similar thing. The reason why I wanted to present this UK government one to you is because while I was living in UK as a Japanese national, I did not have any voting rights. However, with the petition website like this one, I was able to express my opinion on how the society should be going, or how the local government should be running, or the national government should be running. And so how I found online advocacy or online petition options is here. So the online advocacy or online action like this are approachable and easily spread and inclusive. Approachable because I find them especially approachable to younger generations. They may find it very difficult to engage with older generation person to talk. So, a teenager would find it very, very weird or difficult to talk to somebody in 30s like myself. They find me completely different. I find them completely different. However, if something is available online, it will give them some personal space to read and then learn about what the actions are about. The second point, easily spread, of course, because it's online. So instead of papers that we have to give out and ask people to sign or ask people to read and listen to us, we can spread them with just a click on I wasn't going to say mouse, but mouse pad or magic pad. We just have to send it on email or in the messenger message. We can easily spread the words. So it's regardless of where your whereabouts or the people you want to reach, you can spread that around. Also, I find them very inclusive because while us doing things online, we don't have to have physical attendance from everybody in order to take part. The reason why I say inclusive is I personally believe that we need to be more thoughtful, and we need to include those who have some mobility difficulties. Could be from disabilities, they really cannot move on their own, or like our situation right now with COVID, that we just cannot travel to each other's locations. Or people who might be not feeling too well, they might be just stuck at home or in self-quarantine with the COVID. And with the COVID situation still going after almost a year, we don't want to be put our action on hold. And we really cannot afford to do that, as many of you know from the country reports from many of our BPW sisters. The number of domestic violence or difficult situations for women are rising. The situation's getting worse, and many of us are feeling that our society is not going forward, but going backwards instead. So we really, really need to act and continue our action desperately. So just by bringing our action online more, rather than trying to continue everything in person and wishing for the COVID situation to calm down, we can continue and also have the 3 points as I have presented as something positive, and we can continue, and perhaps we can keep spreading our words even better. So I would like us all to take the COVID situation not a negative situation, but a great opportunity to adapt and start our adjustment a little bit. So I'd like to ask you all to perhaps share what does your club or federation do normally? So perhaps before the COVID situation, and also, if you already have, how have you converted these actions online? And if you haven't, what did you find difficult, so that maybe we can all start discussing and sharing some ideas. Or if you have something on your mind that you plan, then please share us how you're planning to do that. So that will be the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Otoha, for getting us started on this platform for brainstorming now. Before I turn it over to the audience, though, I wonder, Otoha, I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe you can just open up a browser window on screen share and show us change.org and how that might be able to be used, how people might set up something on that platform for those who haven't done that before. So let me give you a minute to do that. But while we're waiting for you to get that set up, and please just put it on screen share whenever you're ready. But while you're doing that, Nilima, do you have any comments, first of all, for Otoha from the YBPW perspective, maybe? Or from Nepal's perspective, for that matter?
Yeah. I think what she just mentioned about how we used to work before the COVID, I remember we used to have a lot of, awareness campaigns that, was limited to very few people who could be present, physically. But now we have more online events where, we invite ministers, people from ministries to give us information about how things are running. So I think in that way, more women are getting information about how things are being done and what you know the things that we can learn how it's supposed to do. I think this advocacy doesn't have to be about certain issues, but it can also be about the awareness campaigns that we can do around. So I think that is one of the positive things that I've seen in Nepal and also in other countries. A lot of young members, a lot of countries, they are having a lot of webinars. I can see them, they always posted, and I see that in that way, a lot of young members are getting active and they are aware of what's happening and how they need to raise their voice and be a part of the conversation as well. Because before it used to be like young member used to be the audience all the time, but now we have more speakers as well. So I think that is a plus point, and we need to do more because in that way, in future, we'll have a lot of young members who will be able to speak up, because to speak up, they need to be informed, and to be informed, I think webinars like this will empower them to be more, intellectual when they are speaking. So I think that is one of the good aspect about this whole online, advocacy thing. Yeah.
Mm, great. So the first step for advocacy is to prepare the advocates, which means to educate ourselves and to raise awareness generally among those who can become advocates and in our organization and in the community secondarily, and then to the government as almost a third step. In 1970s, we did a lot in the feminist movement. I was still a child then, but a lot was done in the US feminist movement to this end about consciousness raising groups for women, because women didn't even know in many cases what they needed advocacy for, or that they were not actually equal in pay and other areas. So raising the consciousness of women is another side of advocacy. I think I agree with you completely. Deneen, if you're with us, I know you are the new VP of Advocacy in USA. So can you give us an idea of what, if anything, you're doing or have planned to do around online forms of advocacy for USA?
Yes, thanks, Anne. It's a challenge, an exciting challenge. I think for us here in the U.S., one of the biggest challenges is that there seems to be something that relates specifically to our advocacy platform that gets disrupted almost every single day, if not every hour. So it's the speed with which the information is coming forward and coming through. So for us, what we're finding as the challenges, as you mentioned, increasing awareness, we want to do that responsibly. So with the rush to get the first story out, I take it very seriously that we have to vet the information that's out there first before we can share that information with our members. So that becomes a challenge, because as soon as you're working on that, something else seems to be coming up. So right now we're looking at the best ways to pull in information, vet it quickly, get it back out to the membership, and then decide, okay, here is our position. Now what do we do so that we as an organization can act and that we can empower our members to act? So we're still pulling that together. I've been searching different methods of platforms that can help with the turnaround. Emails seem slow. You know, it's a challenge of utilizing all of that technology that's out there, finding the right fit, and then putting in place a streamlined system so that it's receive information, validate information, find the statement, inform the membership, here's what we can do. So we're still very much in the process, but I'm very, very excited and grateful and fortunate that we do have a very engaged and interested and caring membership. So if anyone has platforms that they know of that, you know, I'm thinking to mobile might be good, if not texting, alerts, those types of things. That's really what I envision. I just haven't quite been able to nail it down just yet.
Mm. Okay, so you're talking about platforms to alert members to issues for advocacy. Okay. Whereas Otoha was talking about platforms to advocate with the government or broader field. So one step, two step. Okay,
Yes.
good. And you mentioned a couple of really key points in there. One, that we need to validate our sources before we pass them on to members. That is critical in this day and age because, as we know, a lot of what is passed along on social media is simply not true. And we need to be careful about that also. And you also mentioned the speed of the news cycle. And in the US, I know it's breathtaking in the last few years. A typical news cycle is 3 to 5 days before another headline story comes along. And in these days, it's considered for the last few years now in the US to be 3 to 5 hours before the next big story comes along, and you can't even catch your breath. So a lot to advocate for. Maybe 2 weeks from now, post-election, you might be able to form your plan, but right now it's crazy days for you. Okay, let's go back to Otoha if you're ready to show us change.org, and then we'll get to the rest of you as well.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to show you the Changeorg page. So as you can see, you can probably tell I'm a lot less nervous now. So sorry earlier. So this is in Japanese. So when I search for change.org, obviously because I'm accessing from Japan, the first page came up in Japanese. And when you go down to the bottom of the page, you can see that it's, well, even just for English, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different versions of English is available. And we have how many available now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. If we're going to count all versions of English and Spanish as different languages, then there's 18 languages available, which is quite great. So I think, so let's just go with Australia. So obviously they're showing, you know, what tends to be in more in people's interest in different regions or different languages. But I think, so this is obviously a great platform to start with. And I also wanted to show you this is the UK government's website. So great thing I found is that they didn't limit who can sign the petition to just the UK nationals, which was really great. So it was open to anybody who lives in UK because I just had to add my postcode and my email address and my full name. And it's not like they were going to kick me out or anything from the petition. But, you know, as long as you live in UK, you have the right to express your opinion. So I found these a great one. And also what Deneen was mentioning earlier, the speed, I completely agree, and validating the source of your information. Because we could be just, you know, keep scrolling on Facebook all day and keep looking at all these, you know, the videos that's showing us lots of different opinions. But how do we know they are correct, and how do we know they are fake news? You know, it's a very, very difficult situation. So you know, it might put many people, you know, if you think a lot and then try to think in details, it might feel like a more difficult thing to challenge. It might be a more of a challenge because you need to validate your resources. You need to be very quick in action. You need to, you know, spread your information in the correct way that matches people's interest. However, you know, I think if things are online, then people can easily select the text and then use Google Translate to translate into your own language and try to understand if the whatever language it was presenting is not your mother tongue and you don't really understand. So I find it very, very approachable. Unfortunately, in Japan, I think Changeorg was actually the most active online petition in Japan. So I wanted to initially give you some examples in Japan, but actually Japan is not very digital. It's quite not so digital is what I would say. People still have lots of papers being posted to each other's houses so that we can physically sign the papers. So I think we are spreading the COVID around within BPW sometimes. But I hope any of you who are attending today, I hope you can give me nicer stories of how you're adapting to the COVID situation. So after Danny,
Otoha, can you put change.org back on the screen, please?
yeah.
So what I wanted is for you to take us through the process, or at least looking at the first page of setting up your own advocacy, not just looking at what's already there. So can you open the page for start a petition, for example? Right. So take us through the first few steps before we have to make any commitment to save this. For example, women's rights. Let's just make a mock petition so people can see how this could be used if it's available in their own language.
So what do we want to achieve? Oh, equal pay.
Good.
And then as you can see on screen, it gives you how how you should start this petition title. So keep it short and to the point, focus on the solution. So you won't end up with an essay as your title where nobody's going to click. So who has the power to make this change? Petition target. So what can we put as petition target? So let's ask.
You can have multiple. You can have multiple. Multiple ones though. So it gives you examples below, and certainly you could say governments and corporations just for our purpose. You might have many more specific things for a real one that you're putting together, but we can just put together a mock one for now. Okay.
Okay, comes up with some suggestions. I guess I'll just put government, people.
Corporations. I don't know if people can make the change, but.
I couldn't spell corporations, sorry. Okay, and I can continue. So explain the problem you want to solve. Women are not paid equally.
So obviously this could be very detailed. For a real campaign, you would want much more detail here.
And just like the title, it gives you some ideas and notes on how you can finish this up. We can upload a photo or add a website, or I guess we'll put for example, and okay, well, that one, and yeah, well, I think I'll just hope it's not going to ask my for my password. I didn't.
You can delete it later.
Yeah. So how long did that take me? Like 2 minutes to set up a new one? I mean, obviously I didn't write the details, but you can see how easy it is to set up something online. And what you can do is now that we're going to have a page here. Publish my petition, and I have something. So I now have a page already. So, and what I can do is I can just copy this one, copy the link, and I can share it with you all here in the chat. And now you can all sign this petition. So the entire thing took less than 5 minutes for sure. And I think what we could do perhaps is make a better video of how you can do this easily, and then spread it to other countries as well, especially to the country with their own country language available on the website. And the government one will be a really nice one if I could share. Does anyone have an example of the government's official petition other than the UK here? So like Japan doesn't have it, but it I don't know. Like Nerima, did you have anything for Nepal? No,
Well,
Nepalese.
one thing I mentioned to you, Otoha, before is Korea, which was my home for 9 years, has a government petition system as well. So the way that works is you have all of the details you insert, you ask people to sign it. If it has 100,000 signatures, the government actually has to do something. There's a required action. They don't have to support your petition, but they have to take action on it in that case and address it. So most government petitions would be the same over a certain quota, and then the government is required to take some kind of action to at least review it. So back to change.org, once you have that link, you decide who to share the link with. So if it's an issue just for your city or just for your nation rather than international, you're the one who's deciding who to share the link with and who to get to sign it. And in the end, when you have a sufficient number of signatures, you have a number of options for how you facilitate that. Whether you print out that and you send it to your government, whether you send it to them as an email or a number of other things, depending on who your target is or targets. So there are ways to action it once you get sufficient signatures. Okay, thanks very much, Otoha, for that. So we want to open it up to the rest of you and anyone who has any other examples of either how your affiliate or your federation is already doing some online advocacy work. Maybe you were even before COVID, and how you are planning to or thinking about or how you might do. What were some of those other questions you asked, Otoha? That's the gist anyway.
Yeah, so that was just.
Okay. I thought you had one or two more aspects. So does anyone want to speak to that? Or maybe an idea just popped into your head and you want to share it with the rest of us, but whether it's in the works or in your mind. Anu?
Yeah, hello everyone. I am Anu Viks from Estonia. And we actually here in Estonia have the same kind of possibility already for years, and it is on the official website of our government. So everyone, every person, every organization can start a petition, and when this petition gets 100 votes, then people can vote for it, then it will be taken into notice, and then you can proceed further. I actually, when I was the president of BPW Estonia, had the idea that we should make the petition for the quotas for women, because I personally believe in quotas, because quotas are something that help you to get started, and when they are not needed anymore, then you can just let them go. But then our board decided that maybe our society is not ready for this yet, and we dropped this issue. But actually everyone here in Estonia can start a petition, and it's on the government website. Thank you.
Thanks, Anu. I would have disagreed with your board and agreed with you. One of the main purposes of advocacy is to get society ready for something. So I would have said, if they're not ready, which might be valid, your BPW Federation could push to raise the awareness to get them ready for that. That is what advocacy is, actually. So good for you anyway. Next time, for sure. Okay, anyone else doing online advocacy? We've got Haney with her hand up.
Yes, well, actually we have same kind of thing as in Estonia. It came forced 2 years ago that as the citizens we can make so-called citizens initiative to propose a new law or an amendment to an existing law or repeal of existing law. And our parliament must consider it if we get 50,000 people to sign it and support. But there is a time limit. You have to get those signs in advance. And some women organizations have used it. And actually, the most newest one was there is a more feminist organization called Naisliitto Unioni, and they just started one on I guess it was end of September, and they get all the signs already in last weekend, and it's about the abortion law because we left behind quite badly in Europe, and but at least now they have to take to consider this initiative, and I hope that we will make some progress, and I would like to use this also as a BPW, but not not volunteers yet.
Okay, so get them there. Good. Okay, so Chantal mentioned in the chat that the paper ballots have been used in Canada for more than 100 years, and they've been used in many parts of the world. But this now is the obvious way to morph that into the online setting. And whether it's 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever the ceiling is, or not really a ceiling, the minimum is for the number of signatures before the government has to pay attention. If you fall short of that, you're still advocating. Because think of all the people who have signed that, and a lot of them may not have considered that issue before. You hear that a lot when in the old days we were taking around the paper on a clipboard and getting signatures, and people would say, I never thought about that before. Ping, 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 light bulbs going off. So you're raising awareness just by collecting the signatures, which is that other side of advocacy. So I think the whole process is very valid. And the next time you might get enough signatures. Who else would like to speak to this? Anu, you were raising your hand again. Did you want to add something?
Yes, I wanted to correct not 100 votes, but 1,000 votes. 1,000, yeah. So it's a very important difference.
No. It is, but it's in Korea that I mentioned before that I think it's 100,000 before the government has to take action.
100,000.
So yeah, I wasn't actually referring to. So see the wide range: 1,000, 50,000, 100,000. It's
yes.
A wide range of the
depends on the size of.
Yeah,
depends on the size of the population, of course.
Also, yes.
Yeah.
Korea is very tiny, but they have 50 million people and they live online. So they can get 100,000 like that. And they do within a day or two. Many petitions are at that level. Who else would like to speak to this? Deneen, do you know, does the US have a online petition system for the government?
Yes, we do actually, and I was just looking that up because I had remembered several years ago that something like that existed. So I went to check. It's actually, I'm sorry, I'm on my phone, so I'm not equipped to screen share, but it's at petitions.whitehouse.gov. Okay. Anyone can generate a petition. You gather the signatures, and at 100,000 signatures, if you do that in 30 days, you will get an official update from the White House within 60 days. Not sure how much this is being utilized. I know with our previous administration, there was actually action and changes and things that were being done. But I'm just looking now at the few petitions that are up there, and it looks like a tabloid magazine. To be honest, it's a bit disconcerting to see if you scroll down to see what some of these petitions are. It's kind of ghastly.
Yeah.
Not that there aren't good things in there, but it just seems now that the system has been tainted and cluttered and bogged down. So I'm not sure even how much it's being viewed by the administration.
I imagine it's someone's job just to weed those out, though.
To
But
go
again,
through.
under 100,000, they don't have to pay any attention.
Correct, correct. So it looks like there's quite a few on there. What happens next or how you track or follow, that's something I'd be interested in learning more about as I'm
Okay.
just now reapproaching this concept, because thank you, I had completely forgotten this existed.
Okay, great. So you might, since you're at the national level now, you might encourage clubs in various states to see if their state level or even their local level has an online petitioning, because we do advocacy at all levels. So it may be that some of the states, I'm thinking of California and New York, for example, they might
Yes.
well have a state level where they can also advocate online in the form of petition. Great. Okay, Chantal?
Hello, everybody. So thank you very much for this morning's session, because I now know that the Government of Canada has an online petition site, and I know that the province of Ontario does not. So I wouldn't have learned these things without this morning's session. And I'm going to share this information with our BPW sisters so they know, because we just had our convention and we had a whole bunch of resolutions that passed, and you could take that language from the resolutions, probably politically correctly after we've presented the brief to the government, and make petitions for every single one of those resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Anne waving her hands from Canada.
Also in Canada, right?
So we were doing no online advocacy other than sharing things on social media that we saw, that we came across. And now I feel like, wow, this opens so many doors. So thank you very much for this morning's session.
Great. And for those whose governments don't have an online petitioning, that might be another area for advocating. So to ask them and give them examples of other governments that have this, send your local representative or whatever works in your country emails to say, this, and this government have online petition platforms for their citizens. Why don't we, or could we? So that might be another area to explore. Great. So we've been talking a lot about petitioning. Think about the other forms of advocacy that we normally do from our states, state level or state or province, or national level or local level, BPW. What else could we maybe find an online way? Now let's brainstorm. What else could we find online ways for advocacy? We talked about petitions. We've mentioned a little bit about social media. Social media is used for many things, from the very trivial to the very sublime and everything in between. Can we be using social media platforms more for actual advocacy? And if so, how? Sure. Nilima, then Anu.
One of the things that I have seen that is missing within all the organization is that there are lots of policies that are made, right? And when it comes to implementation, we see a lot of women raising issues that has been already solved. That, they already have the, policy made for it, but they still are, talking about it without knowing that that is already been solved. So I think within BPW also, we need to make sure that there are such policies that are already, made, and that we need to advocate for that, for the implementation. I think that is what is missing in most of the countries right now as well, because we see, same issues that is being raised again and again, and which, the members are not aware of. And I think within BPW, we need to make sure that we have those kind of advocacy platform where we educate our, members about these are the things that has been already, up there that we need to follow, and make sure that other people who are not aware about it, they need to follow. And also, I think we need to come up with a strategy in a way that, we can have petition even within BPW as well. If there are certain things that we want to change and we want to come as an individual, we don't just have to, wait for the General Assembly to change the entire thing. For certain things, I think if we come up in that way within BPW, I think a lot of change that will be an inclusive, thing, not just a few members who want to change something in BPW. I think in that way it will be more effective.
Okay, great. Anu, you wanted to add something?
Yes, I wanted to add that, of course, social media advocacy is at present it is one of the best ways, and we have been advocating for equal pay day and also women on boards. And except social media for equal pay day, we, as our government is supporting our has been supporting our action, then we have been able to place. Don't know exactly how they are called in English, but as you drive on the highway, on the road, there are the huge advertising boards or
Billboard.
billboards. Yeah, that's right. So we have put, when we have the equal pay day campaigns, the huge notice that it's the equal pay and women and men and equal these are for, getting the attention actually. So the huge billboard, it's inside the biggest cities in Estonia, inside the cities, not at the highways. And this is also one way to get the attention. But of course, you need money for that. And because of our social ministry has been supporting us, then we have been able to do it. So thank you.
Great. So we can tell you're at your office, Anu. Lots of chatter in the background. If for anybody who doesn't know, many of us around the world are working from home, but you're obviously back in your office. Thanks for that. And I'm thinking with social media, there's the whole concept of something going viral, as we all know. And when it goes viral, it can go very quickly all around the world. And it may be your local issue, but depending on who's passing it along, it doesn't matter if it goes around the world. Why not? Because maybe they should be working on the same issue in other countries. So if I put something on Facebook, let's say, and I specifically get all of my BPW club members to post the same on theirs, already we've got that number. And they should then be asking everybody who is connected to their page, whether they're BPW or not, to consider to repost it. Don't just wait for people to repost it, ask them to repost it or to retweet it. If I have also accounts on Twitter and on Instagram and on LinkedIn and any other social media platform, I should be posting the same thing on all of my platforms. And if you're doing that regularly, use a social aggregator. Get your club to use a social aggregator like Hootsuite is one of the most popular, but there are others where you can just put them all in and schedule them for days at a time or weeks at a time or a month at a time so that someone isn't always having to be online to do this. And you can put all of your streams for all of your social media on there. So it's regularly going out to all of these. And get some movement, get some energy, get people reposting, retweeting, that sort of thing, sharing it. Ask people to share it. Get all of your members involved if it's a campaign, which is what advocacy is. It's a campaign for raising awareness and making change. So if all the members are actively posting on all of their platforms and asking all of those attached to their platforms to repost, you can see how quickly we can actually make something go viral. And because not everybody on your platform is in your area, then it also will spread around the world. So why not? Why aren't we doing that? Why can't we do that for any of the things that we're advocating for when it comes to gender equality and women's rights and empowerment? So I would suggest we're underutilizing social media. We're posting lots of nice messages to our BPW sisters, but we're not so often really aggressively advocating on platforms we already have and use. So that's another area to consider. Video. So we've got YouTube, obviously, but there's Vimeo and there are other platforms depending on what you're comfortable with. If your club is making any kind of videos, they should be going on these public platforms and being made public, not private, just for your club's use, so that we can raise these awarenesses. If you have a seminar, it should be recorded. Now we're doing lots of things on Zoom. These should always be recorded, put online, open to the public, so that we can also raise awareness about all of these issues. So these are some other things that come to my mind. Anybody else want to jump in with other ideas or things that you're actually already doing in your area? I think many people have already been speaking, but if anyone wants to jump in again or someone who hasn't yet, happy to have repeats too.
The repeats actually. Yes, the video was something I was actually thinking as well, because when you're scrolling on Facebook, you see lots of the videos. It's the same. We tend to see same videos on Instagram, and I think also on Twitter as well. And one thing I have noticed with how how people on my team, they're 25, 26, so they're a lot younger than me, and also my sister and their generations, how they're doing is they tend to be drawn to something more visual, a lot more what we used to do. We see some words that, if we see the keywords that tends to be something we're interested in, we would read. But my sister doesn't read anything. She hates reading anything. But if it's a video, then she would definitely watch. And so from that, I was thinking, obviously it cannot be a very, like amateur kind of video, but it needs to be looking very professional, and then, very visually catchy videos. But if we could make some kind of videos, about BPW or what we do, for example, Eco Payday. And if we can all share that on Instagram, Twitter, if anyone's got Twitter account, share, and obviously on our websites as well, and Facebook. And I think, as I was saying earlier, I think we can easily go very, very viral. And also on the change.org website from earlier, from the management page of the what I was making earlier, might share for a second. You can easily share the link, not just by copying the link and pasting like I was doing earlier, but you can share like this. Can you see that you can share on Facebook, Gmail, you can tweet about it, you can send non-Gmail email, you can even share the link on WhatsApp. And as we all know, WhatsApp is something we can use very, very easily within BPW. And then from there, people can perhaps share to their friends on WhatsApp, or share on Facebook, share on any other platforms. So I'm sure if we search a bit more, we might be able to cover every single language we have in BPW with all these online. Something we can do online. And video and nice catchy photos, that's something I would definitely agree that we should do. And also I put a comment there. So I was actually thinking about it like a few months ago. I wanted to make a list of countries with governments, official government petition, like the UK, and we now know that Canada has one, so on. If we can make a list of it, then it might actually give people more ideas of what they could be doing from home while they are being quarantined. So that might be helpful to everybody within BPW, and we can keep continuing doing things online. Don't know what.
Great, Otoha. Here's another idea related to that and a few other things we've mentioned, and that is TikTok, and particularly a combination of TikTok and Instagram, because from TikTok you can automatically post to Instagram as well. So if your BPW club has a TikTok account, not just you as an individual, but your club has a TikTok account and an Instagram account, not only the young generation, all of us have a short attention span because of all the years now we've spent on internet and the last 12 years on social media. This is a change in psychology, which is my field. And we can be sad about that, but it's the reality. So in reality, also, this is why advertisements are always very short, because you want to be short, very professional, and to the point. So if we have different issues we're trying to raise, whether it's equal pay or women on boards, and we've got a 15-second video on TikTok giving some really hard facts. Did you know that women only represent 1% of the boards around the world? Don't quote me on that. That's not a real figure. This sort of thing to raise people's awareness, and end it with, what can you do about it? That kind of thing. So we could do a number of different things about the issues we're already advocating for, and it just requires someone talking into a camera, looking like a professional woman, and giving some really important points in a short video about a hot topic, and reposting it to Instagram. And you can post it on all the other social media too, just put the link there, but automatically to Instagram. And the two most popular in the world are, first of all, Facebook, and secondly, Instagram right now, but TikTok is soaring, and it works very well with the others. And the point there really is short videos. And you might think it's just funny dance videos and that sort of thing, but actually there's been a trend for at least some months, maybe a year ago, I was already reading about it, where doctors and lawyers and others are making short infomercials, so to speak, to alert and aware their followers, make more aware their followers of various issues from their own professional background. So we should be doing the same for women's issues. I think that would be a very timely way of advocating. And who doesn't like making a video? We're making one right now. So get your best people on it who really are comfortable being on camera, even if it's just for short soundbite or infomercial segments, but that would be recommended. The longer the video, the more people stop paying attention, actually. Okay, Chantal, I think you had your hand up a minute ago. Was that true?
Yes, I did have my hand up because I think it's a great idea for us to make video, but not all of us are comfortable doing that. And I think it's also a good idea to amplify the voices of those who already have videos that are related to what we're talking about. So the Equal Pay International Coalition has a great video. It's done with cartoon figures on their homepage that explains the whole issue of equal pay across the globe. So that's something that we could amplify while we're working on creating our videos.
Absolutely. And in your club of 20 or 120, however many members you have, doesn't really matter the number. If you have 5, I mean, basically we're supposed to have a minimum of 20, but if you accidentally have 5 in your club, one of them is probably comfortable being on camera. So find your best person to be the spokesperson for the ones you make. It doesn't have to be everybody. But these days, we've all had at least 6 to 9 months of practice meeting and discussing and acting in this way. So we're all more comfortable than we were before. And just like this, any one of these videos I'm looking at in front of us with our professional look and our cheery faces and our professional background, and if we're talking about something really important for the advancement of women, that's your video. 15 seconds isn't a presentation, it's just bullet points. Who else wants to jump in? We've got just a few more. Deneen, let's hear from you again.
Yes, just to sort of piggyback off of what Chantal was saying, another thing we're doing in the US is as we're trying to re-emerge as an organization that's a voice for the advocacy of women, is building strategic alliances with other organizations who may have broader membership, a more sound digital infrastructure. We have 4 or 5 that we're talking to right now that we're looking to work with. So that's just another way, I think, to not necessarily reinvent the wheel and to build some synergy and hopefully amplify the effect from both sides or multiple organizations. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Great. One last point on this from me, and then we come to time to close, actually. And that is, we all have in our news feeds on our various social media platforms, probably a lot of different women's organizations. And I don't know about you, but I often am reading great things and I love what I'm reading, and I might click on like, I might not. Sometimes we're lazy about that, but I don't often repost it, share it on my page. Sometimes I do. But really, that's another form of advocacy. So if UN Women or Equal Pay Day campaign or any others are posting great things that should be heard by many, I think we actually have an obligation to repost it on our pages, because that's how things go viral. So it's not only what we create in our own affiliates, but what other organizations are doing that we need to share as well. And we hope that they share what we post, right? That's the win-win situation. We're all in this together. Okay. On that note, I want to give a great big thank you to our speaker today, Otoha Hayashi in Tokyo. And now you can let your little dog back in the room. And thanks so much for getting us started and giving us this presentation. And thanks to all of you for really actively participating. And I think at the end of this hour, we have a wonderful, rich video to share with all of our BPW sisters around the world. Let's do this. Okay. Thank you, Nilima, for co-hosting. And again, a big thanks to all of you, and hope to see you here again next month or before for other webinars next month for this series. Bye for now.